But there's certain things that they can maybe adopt from other leagues. And I feel the same way from the NBA. The NBA should adopt some things that the WNBA should do. The WNBA, this if factor when it comes to the final game week of the regular season, this is where I miss a play-in, Christine.
I actually agree with that. I think a play-in would be really good because, like you said, obviously at the bottom of the standings, there's a lot of parity. I don't know if that's the right word. I might be using that wrong. So let's take a look at the current standings really fast. The first 6 spots are secured, but the last 2 seeds are still up for grabs on the last day of the regular season. The Mercury and the Liberty are in the driver's seat. Win, and they're both in. The Lynx can still clinch with a win over the Sun today and a loss by either Phoenix or New York since they hold the tiebreaker over both teams. The Dream can clinch a spot with a win and a Phoenix loss. So it's coming down to the wire on the final day of competition. Like you said, it'd be great if there was a play-in because then you just play for your playoff lives again. Like you get another chance to play for your playoff life. For sure.
And again, just too many ifs. If this team loses, then if that team loses, this team gets the spot. How about we just eliminate that altogether with a play-in?
Wait, go ahead.
I said the WNBA moved on from the 1-1 5-5 traditional format, right? So now that was kind of play-in-esque in previous years. But now when it comes to the playoff format, it's the traditional 1 through 8.
Right.
But now this is where I get it now. You know, the NBA at first when it introduced the play-in, I'm like, how's this going to work?
Right.
But now I get it. I get it. This is why they instituted this into the NBA. It'd be nice to, maybe see down the line, we just get rid of this, Christine.
I mean, some NBA players still hate it, so it's just like an interesting thing. Who do you think is going to be 7 and 8 when it's all said and done?
So I think there's a lot going on with the Mercury, obviously.
Right.
It's been a tough season for them from an emotional standpoint. They're obviously without Skylar Diggins-Smith this weekend, or excuse me.
Diana.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Her as well. I think the Lynx have something to play for, and it's not just Sylvia Fowles. It is a spot in the playoffs. I like them to sneak in for sure, and something's telling me about the Liberty as well. Sabrina Ionescu is big time. She's one of the more exciting players in the WNBA. To get her in with a primetime matchup, either against the Aces or the
Storm?
Yes, thank you. It would be must-see TV.
So I don't want the Liberty to make it because there's a possibility that if they don't, Sabrina Ionescu could be our analyst for the first round of the playoffs, and that'd be fun. But I'm sure she'd rather play in the postseason than come talk to me about the WNBA and all the players that are currently playing and not if it wasn't her. Okay, so let's take a look at the top of the standings because there's still some movement that could happen with seeding. The top 4 teams will get home court advantage in the playoffs, but it's the race for number 1 to keep an eye on today. The Aces clinched the top spot with the win over the Storm, or Sky lost to the Mercury. The Sky lost the tiebreaker to the Aces on Thursday, but they can still get a number 1 spot with a win and an Aces loss. Connecticut, Seattle, Washington, and Dallas have all locked in their respective seeding. So as you look at the playoff bracket, it starts taking shape. What matches are you most excited to watch?
So like you said, Christine, the 1 and 2 obviously still jockeying for position.
Right.
I'm really intrigued to see the Sky versus whoever, whether that is the Lynx, whether that is the Liberty. I want to see if this championship hangover is a thing.
Right.
Obviously, they are a stacked team. Courtney Vandersloot, Candace Parker, Allie Quigley. From top to bottom, they are an electric team.
Right.
But no team in the WNBA has repeated as champions since 01-02 with the Los Angeles Sparks. Repeating in any sport is one of the hardest things to do.
Right.
It's just that first round matchup, especially if it's 2-7, is going to be one to keep an eye on for sure.
And knowing that, do you feel like who's your favorite for the championship this season?
Something is telling me the Las Vegas Aces. Everything is going right for them this year.
Yeah, of course.
They're Kelsey Plum. Asia Wilson, they could beat you in so many different ways, Christine, and especially Kelsey Plum. She's having everything's going right for her this season. Tom Brady, one of her biggest fans, All-Star MVP. She is must-see TV, and she's becoming the player that we originally saw when she was in Washington.
Right.
She was the top leading scorer in the nation, finally coming into her own as a professional a point guard for the Aces. Obviously, Jackie Young complements them with that team out west. I know they're young. I know they could be, they got some tough tests ahead of them. If I have an early favorite, it's them.
Also, Kelsey Plum, best dressed player in the league. Well,
she's fire.
Diamond Shields also. Let's not even go. That's the whole entire tangent. I can go down.
Dating outfits.
I was like, why did I say she's the best? Wait, Diamond. Okay, wait. Actually, no. Let's just not even talk about it.
All of Christine's favorite.
Okay, so the matchup that we're getting you guys ready for, the Lynx taking on the Sun. Take a look at this.
Bonner gonna stop and pop for another three, and she cans it.
Bree Jones bodies in for two.
Look at the move. Go ahead, Sylvia Fowles.
The WNBA's all-time leading rebounder.
We now welcome in our good sis, Ros Gold-Onwude, who will be on the sideline for the matchup today. And Ros, the Lynx have a lot on the line. They definitely need a win. What's the mindset as they go into this matchup?
Well, first for the team, they're emotionally charged. They absolutely want to do what they can with a win to at least give Sylvia Fowles a chance to make it into the playoffs in her 15th and final season. Also, don't forget, the last game they played was against a Seattle Storm team that was hungry and fighting for home court advantage in that number 4 seed. Today, the Connecticut Sun, you might see some resting at some point. This is a team that's already got the 3 seed clinched and locked, and they're getting their mindset and bodies ready for the playoff push. But it's going to be all hands on deck for the Minnesota Lynx. They need everybody. And last game, one person that could potentially bring more is Mariah Jefferson. Came through with 0 points for them. Ariel Powers is back off of a sore knee. Came off the bench and gave 18 points. But they're getting emotional boost from Napheesa Collier and Kayla McBride with her shooting. But they're going to have to match the size and the physicality of the Sun. And of course, one person who can do that is Sylvia Fowles, who is leading the league in rebounds and field goal percentage. This is somebody who is still at the top of her game in the paint and close to the rim, but is leaving on her own terms.
Ros, it's amazing to see, as always, Miss Miami dressed out there in Connecticut. Sylvia Fowles, you said it. It was an emotional night the other night for her last regular season game at home. What has the vibes been like around the Lynx team, knowing that they're fighting for their playoff lives while also having this on their shoulders, Ros?
It's emotional. This is a team that loves Syl. They call her Mama Syl. This is somebody who's been a great leader for them on the court and has delivered around the rim on offense and defense throughout her entire career and has a legacy there, but also someone who has cared and nurtured and taught and been a consistent sister, mother, leader for this team. Syl is somebody who does not want a lot of attention, so that's why, in her final regular season home game, just seeing her cry and the outpouring of emotion and tears from Coach Reeve and her taking in and allowing herself to absorb the love was beautiful. And actually, maybe a little unexpected because she had so far been taking this season in a stride of that she has closure. She's ready for the next chapter. And I think actions speak really loud. Look at Napheesa Collier, who came back in less than 3 months from having a baby. The reason why was she did not want to miss stepping on the court with Sylvia Fowles in her final season. Let actions speak louder than words. You look at the respect she has around the league. I cover the Sparks. Simone Augustus and the Sparks came out with flowers, physical ones, to give her on top of a standing ovation. In Chicago, the Sky, the team that she was originally drafted to, they gave her a recliner chair so she could rest and lay back in her retirement years. So I think the actions speak the loudest when you talk about Syl, who has said her legacy, she wants to be dominance. She also told me she wants her legacy to be relentless. But if you hear others talk about her, the word that comes up a lot is loving, nurturing, kind, warm, and great hugger.
I want a hug from Syl. I told you the other night, I want to be Syl's friend. Also, guys, if you don't know this about Syl, she wants to be a mortician after she's done playing in the WNBA. There was a great episode of ESPN Daily that you guys absolutely need to listen to. Ros, very much looking forward to this matchup. We'll see you on the sideline, and obviously congratulations to Syl on an amazing career.
Love you, Ros.
Thank you, guys.
Now it's time for There's More to the Game, brought to you by Google. All-WNBA First Team is a breakout search in the U.S. over the past week. And it makes sense as the season winds down to start thinking about which players deserve All-WNBA honors. The league announced a new process this year in which voters will pick players regardless of their position. So first, Joe.
Yes.
Do you like this new format? Is the change good?
I love it. And I love it because of this reason. Basketball these days is a positionless sport. Luckily, on the flip side, let's talk about the NBA for a second.
Yeah.
Sometimes the NBA is viewed as a guard game.
Right.
And the point guards get all the love. The Steph Currys, the Damian Lillards,
right.
The DeMar DeRozans. And they would ask, hey, what about the front court? The Nikola Jokic's, the Joel Embiid's. It's not like that in the WNBA. I think that the primetime players in the WNBA are the big women,
right.
and that's not going to hurt them in this case.
Yeah.
Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart, those girls are locks.
Yeah.
For the first team every year, and then you sprinkle in some electric front backcourt players.
Right.
I love the idea.
That's actually very true. Okay, so which players do you feel should be All-WNBA First Team?
Off the top, our girl, Kelsey Plum.
Of course.
She's averaging 20-5 this season, over 40% from the three on the league's best team. She's the first Aces player to score 700 points in a single season.
Okay.
I'm going to go Skylar Diggins-Smith in the 2.
Okay.
Here's why. I know, like I mentioned before, it's been an emotional season
right.
for them. I think they deserve credit for a lot. The fact that they're even able to play basketball as a team is beyond impressive because of what Brittany Griner's dealing with and all the emotions running through. I know that Skylar's been, is it safe to say bratty? And didn't she call
there has been some drama.
Of course, in calling the coach or tweeting at the coach, a clown emoji, allegedly.
Right.
So I'm going to give her roses. Arike Egunbowale, Miss-Consistent is what I like to call her. 19-3, has never averaged under 18 points a game in her WNBA career. She will miss the first round of the playoffs, which is upsetting.
Right.
But she still played 30 games. I give her a nod on the first team All-NBA.
Okay.
Breanna Stewart, of course, Asia Wilson, they are givens every time.
Right, okay. So obviously there were some snubs. And this always happens. Like, people are mad that some people aren't included.
Of course.
So who are the first out of your list?
I love to pay my respects to the legends of the sport. Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker are two that immediately come to mind. One, I know Kelsey Mitchell, the Indiana Fever have had a really, really tough year. They're at the bottom of the standings. But again, numbers that are showing that they're first team worthy. If I had to pick one off my snub, Candace Parker, she's a legend. She's on right now the second best team in the WNBA. That's going to transpire later on this afternoon when it comes to seeding. How's my first team list, Christine?
I think you did pretty good.
Not bad.
You did pretty solid. I liked it.
You're on my first. It's Christine is on my first team all WNBA.
I mean, the last time we did a show, you guys tricked me with doing the WNBA resume, blind resume.
Who's that?
And it happened to be me. So I wouldn't be surprised if you put me on that team, actually. Okay, you're watching WNBA Hoop Streams presented by Google. We're reaching tip-off between the Lynx and the Sun. Joe, there's a lot. It's got to be a fun. I don't know if it'd be fun or sad. I guess she's obviously not home. Her last home game was on Friday, but it's a different vibe for Syl as she goes into this matchup. You would imagine. I love Syl. I want to be her best friend, as I already said.
You are her best friend. You're everybody's best friend, Christine.
Another matchup happening tonight: the Storm versus the Aces.
The ball gets tipped, you just kind of play.
She's had the mentality, you can't guard me right now.
I want to be the best on the basketball court.
Wow, that's pretty. Plum is deep in that pocket corner.
We now welcome in our friend Carolyn Peck to talk about this matchup. And Carolyn, let's talk about the Aces side of things. They're looking to clinch the #1 seed. Is this something that they're talking about in the locker room? Do players and coaches really want to lock this 1 seed down?
I really don't think, Christine, that they're talking about the #1 seed. They just want to be playing well and playing the right way as they roll into the playoffs. They want to make sure that they get their defense on point, they rebound the basketball, and then they move the ball around. Because Becky Hammon has said time in and time out this season, her team really plays better on the road.
Do you think it's at all important that they lock down the 1 seed for this team, or are they just looking past that?
Well, I think it's important because when you look at having to travel and not telling if you're having to change time zones, going to the East Coast, if you can stay at home and play those first 2 games at your own place and sleep in your own bed, that's got to be an advantage.
Carolyn, before you hopped on with us, you mentioned that you're in Los Angeles, correct? That you said it was a little bit early for you?
A little bit. I got my coffee here, so
Carolyn,
yeah, it's a little early.
This guy's up at 5 in the morning making smoothies.
Joe is he wakes up before the sun even comes up.
Well, that's good to know. So when I'm back in Connecticut, Joe, I'll expect a smoothie.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Well, Carolyn, Breanna Stewart, A'ja Wilson, going to be a fantastic matchup between 2 MVP candidates and 2 players. They're at the top of this league. Does this kind of matchup weigh on the players a little bit? Do you think they get too caught up in going back and forth at each other, or are they such veterans that it's all about the team in this case?
Look, both those 2 players have already won an MVP, so I don't think that that's what's important to them. I think trying to win a championship is the most important thing, and they've got 2 different motivations. A'ja Wilson, the championships have eluded her. 2 years ago, they got really close last year. They were picked to win it, got eliminated. So that's one of the things that A'ja Wilson is focused on, is trying to really have that trophy at the end of these playoffs. Breanna Stewart, a different motivation. Remember, this is Sue Bird's final season, and I believe that that's the #1 motivation, not only for Breanna Stewart, but for all of the Storm players.
You mentioned it's Sue's final season. Obviously, we've been talking about it all season. This is now her final regular season game. How do you feel like her mindset is going into this matchup?
Well, if you've met Sue Bird, she is so good at compartmentalizing. And remember, this is not her first time retiring. It's kind of a second time around because she had announced last year. So I think that Sue Bird really is focused on continuing to play the way that she has all season. Look, she is one of the best point guards in the world. And when Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart are both healthy, you know what they do? They win championships.
Carolyn, the Aces are a powerhouse in this league, and they're battling for that #1 seed. How important do you think it is to lock up that #1 seed today?
Well, I think it'll be key. And the most important thing is how they play. And they're a team that has been hot as of late. They just knocked off the Chicago Sky. And one of the things that Becky Hammon was looking for is her defense locked in? Is the priority on the defensive end? Well, she has found that. She's also had to move some pieces around because De'Erica Hamby, she's got a bone bruise. She's out for 2 to 4 weeks. So she's got to get contribution from the bench. And Ileana Repair and Raquana Williams have been the answer to that. And Kia Stokes moving to the starting lineup, she really has helped lock down the paint with A'ja Wilson.
All right, can you give us a game prediction? Who do you think is going to pull this one off?
You know, normally I would go with the team that has revenge on their mind because remember that the Aces spoiled the party for Sue Bird in the last game of the regular season in Seattle. So Seattle should come in with a chip on their shoulder. But the Aces have shown that they can hold off those teams that come in with a chip because Chicago lost to the Aces in the Commissioner's Cup, came into Las Vegas. The Vegas Aces, they handled them. So it's going to be a great game now because Seattle's got great offense. The Aces have great defense. The Aces have great offense. But I'm going to give the tilt to the home team, the Las Vegas Aces.
Love that. Love that.
Carolyn, Seattle and Washington are set to face off against each other in the 4-5 matchup. Can you give us a little bit of a preview on that coming up into the WNBA playoffs?
I'm going to tell you, that is going to be, I think, the best matchup of the first round in the playoffs. Both teams are playing extremely well. We talked about Seattle's defense. Well, Washington is a tough defensive team as well. They're strategic. And with having the matchup of Brianna Stewart going against Elena Deladon, that's going to be great. You've got Ariel Atkins going against Jewel Lloyd. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then at the point guard, Natasha Cloud, she doesn't get quite the recognition I believe that she deserves, and she's going against Sue Bird. So now, how are those 2 point guards going to battle each other back and forth?
If that doesn't get you excited about the matchup, then hopefully the fact that me and Carolyn will be in studio for the first round of the playoffs should get you excited. Thank you so much, Carolyn. We'll see you next week.
All right, looking forward to seeing you, Christine.
Now time for Fuel Tomorrow, presented by Gatorade. So today we're recognizing 2 of the greats who are calling it a career, starting with Sylvia Fowles. The future Hall of Famer has dominated the league for 15 years. While she enjoys what could be her last WNBA game, others around the league describe how much of a role model she has been to others.
Sis, Big Silly, I love you, and I know that we've had conversations about our worth individually, and I'm so happy that you are receiving your flowers.
She paved the way for a lot of players. I mean, just that dominant inside presence.
You've mastered the paint for so long, and so retirement is going to be good for you because you've done too much.
And I'm happy that you'll be able to enter this next stage on your own terms with championships and also leaving a legacy that us as post players aspire to. So congrats, Big Sil. Welcome to the next stage of your career.
I love that. I love all the stories that we've heard about Sil. What do you think sums up her WNBA career?
Legend, pioneer, a quiet GOAT. You know, I know Sue Bird's been getting a ton of the attention this year, but Sylvia Fowles, she's the last pretty much of her kind. I know the centers are being kind of funneled out in just the game of basketball these days. 4-time Olympian, she was a massive presence at the international level. It's going to be tough to see her go, but I mean, all good things must come to an end, and she has a career to look forward to following basketball,
and
which Christine's, of course, excited about.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. And she likes being behind the scenes and kind of not getting the accolades in the same way that we've obviously seen with Sue Bird. So another player, as we both mentioned, who's ending an illustrious career this season is Sue Bird. What a career it has been, having been drafted in the first overall pick in 2000. I almost said 2022. That's this year. In 2002, she would go on to make her mark, playing 19 seasons, the most of any player all time. And during that span, she was able to lead the Storm to 4 WNBA championships, arguably the greatest passer in history. She leaves her mark as the all-time assist leader. It's not even close. She's going down in history as one of the greats. So what do you think is Sue's legacy?
The perfect floor general, Christine. I like to say, I'm not from Connecticut, I'm from East Haven, all right? There's a difference.
Okay.
But being from Connecticut, I know I kind of flipped it right there, but UConn basketball is pretty much all we have.
Right.
And being around as long as I have, she's all I really knew when it came to dominant UConn players. And of course, her career is translated fantastically into the WNBA. She's one of the best players of all time. She's one of the best people of all time. Of course, her activism off the court is beyond commendable. A legend that we're, of course, going to miss, but now it's time for the new girls to step up, like the Kelsey Plums, like, you know, the Brianna Stewarts. The league's in good hands.
Yeah, it's crazy that she's been able to play this long. I remember that story last year that she was talking about, where she was saying that her new teammate, the mom, was the same age as her, and she was like, "Wow, we can go grab a drink together with the mom of my new teammate." I just think it's amazing that she's been playing so long. Okay, so as the regular season comes to a close, we thought we'd play a little game.
Yes,
I don't know why I just got a British
why are we talking like this when Team Crumpet?
No idea. So, okay, we're going to look at some of the top plays of the entire season, and Joe is going to rate them on a scale of chilly, cold, and ice cold.
Excuse me while I break out my drip. I know I usually keep
He's prepared for it because he
Shout
got all
out
that
to my
ice
boy,
on.
Mikey Libro, my jeweler. Let's do this, Christine.
We start with Shea Petty on the inbounds. Look at this. Off the defender's back.
Stop. This is beyond disrespectful, Christine, because you're not seeing it right now, but the scoreboard, they're up by like 30. And the fact that you want to add insult to injury, throwing balls off people's backs, this is wrong. But I'm going to rank this, Christine. This is ice cold.
Okay, ice cold. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Anytime you embarrass somebody else, especially if you're doing it in a game
dominating
where they're
them,
literally like getting killed, that is the worst possible situation. Okay, this one is Candace Parker. She's also goated. It's a thing of beauty.
This is like playing with 5-year-olds.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And on an 8-foot hoop, and she's just embarrassing people.
She just sunned them.
Since this is just not fair at all, I'm not going to give this ice cold. I'm going to go cold with this one, Christine.
Okay.
And cold like your chain and your 8 rings, girl.
My chain is like slightly.
Maybe that's why it's freezing in the studio, Christine.
No, you're the one that brought the cold in here. Okay, the last one is Chelsea Gray off the inbounds, and if this is an ice cold in your ranking.
Christine, I'm going to give this an even better ranking. This, I mentioned this to our people on the WNBA Hoop Streams production team. This is the greatest inbound I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's no cap, Christine. This isn't cold. This isn't ice cold. This isn't freezing. This is brick.
Oh my gosh.
Christine, brick.
I love that. I love
Behind the back?
Seriously,
inbound? Come on.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay, we obviously have a game.
We do.
You have a prediction. I'm going to tell you who I want to win.
I mean, I think everybody in this entire world is rooting for the Lynx.
Yeah.
Let's see more of Sylvia Fowles. Her story's not over yet.
Right.
This is going to be a game where, obviously, a lot of emotions. She is. This could be her last game ever, but something's telling me and you and everybody else that we're going to see more of Sylvia Fowles.
I love her, and I hope she wins this game so that we can see more of her. Thanks for watching WNBA Hoop Streams presented by Google. Me and Joe, we got a game to watch. We'll see you later.